All right, today I haven't done one of these podcasts in a long time, and I just had a few ideas racing around my head. I've recently moved into a new location. Things are really busy, lots of new clients, but a couple of things that I've been thinking about recently that again were brought up to me again to think about and comment on is one is I had a person who is looking to work out who reached out to me and said that they would like to know more about strength training because their doctor recommended that because they were starting menopause that they should start strength training, which is interesting that doctors are recommending strength training. And not too long ago, another recently new client, I reached out to them and they said what an amazing coincidence because they were told, and this was not an elderly person, a younger person, maybe early 40s. I'm 65, so for me that's a younger person. And they were told that they needed to take up strength training, so said my call was very opportune. So that's interesting. Doctors are finally starting to recommend strength training because in the past, doctors recommended walking programs, doctors recommended cardio, and if you go back far enough, and of course I'm old enough to go back far enough, there was a time not that long ago when strength training was actually discouraged. And because of course the craze was for so-called cardio activities, aerobic activities, things like that. And there was a time, back around when Ken Cooper first coined the term aerobics and talked about that people would look down their noses at people who lifted weights, particularly bodybuilders, as being vain and narcissistic, and that those muscles weren't good for anything except for aesthetics, and that if you really want to have true health, then rather than waste your time with getting big muscles, you would of course focus on the heart and the lungs. And muscles might even be hard on your heart, or it might even be detrimental to your athletic abilities because you would become muscle bound. Well, interestingly, back in 1972, Arthur Jones, the inventor of Nautilus, he said, as far as so-called heart health goes, he said the lifting of weights, and I'm paraphrasing here, the lifting of weights is so far superior to anything else in improving cardiovascular health that whatever is in second place is not even in the running. And pun was intended, the running. And of course at the time, most people took that with at least a few grains of salt, if not completely ignored it, because this was in the midst of the running craze, and Arthur Jones, never one to just go with the flow, was basically stating what at the time might have seemed to many people to be blasphemy. Well, recently, along the same lines of what I was saying about doctors recommending strength training, is apparently the American Heart Association has now said that for the purpose of improving and benefiting people who either have heart issues or are trying to prevent having heart issues, that strength training, resistance training as they refer to it, is equally as protective to the heart as so-called cardio. Well, that's interesting. Arthur Jones, they just said that in 2024, and Arthur Jones said it back around in the early 70s. So they're a little over 50 years behind. I think they haven't quite caught up, because I personally think that strength training is superior for that purpose. And that a lot of people have wasted a lot of time and effort, and in many cases doing it improperly or overdoing it have damaged their joints, ligaments, tendons, and bones in the process. So science is catching up somewhat to things that Arthur Jones said 50 years ago. And even long before that, if you go back around the turn of the century, and you look at the old magazines, Physical Culture and things like that, that were espousing, and probably even centuries before that, proper strength training and muscle building as being a healthy pursuit. Matter of fact, I don't think it's a coincidence if you look at old Greek art, sculptures, and paintings that the men are depicted and the women are depicted as actually being pretty muscular people. Anyways, times will come around. Of course, for me, it's good for business when they're doctors, because doctors still hold a fair amount of credibility, although I think that's been damaged in the last few years. But when your doctor tells you to go out and get strength training, people are likely to follow up. And kudos to them for recommending that as opposed to writing a prescription, because I know sometimes it seems like prescriptions are the first choice that they recommend. And in fairness, in doctors' defense, a lot of people don't want to do lifestyle changes. They just want the pills. So doctors are left with doing what they can to help people out. And anyways, I could get off on a tangent about the pharmaceutical industry, et cetera, but that's too much of a tangent. So strength training is good for you. Surprise, surprise. And doctors are recommending it. That's the main message, and I'm glad to see that happening. Anyways, thanks for listening if you made it this far, and please feel free to subscribe. Or if you're seeing this on YouTube, subscribe. If you're seeing this on Facebook, then like my page, Sustainable Success. Bye for now.